You tap a little rectangle of plastic against a machine, a light beeps, and the thing is yours. Nothing left your hand. Your pocket feels exactly the same. No bills, no weight, no sting, nothing at all. And that nothing you just felt, it might be the most expensive feeling ever engineered, because in that painless little moment, the one natural brake your brain has against overspending was quietly, invisibly switched off. Today we look at the thin piece of plastic that was built deliberately to do exactly that. To understand why that nothing is so dangerous, you have to understand one thing about how a normal purchase is supposed to work. When you hand over real money, your brain registers a small, genuine flicker of pain. A real little ouch. Parting with money lights up some of the same circuits as actual discomfort. And here's the surprising part. That little hurt, annoying as it feels, is one of your best friends. Because it's a break. It's the natural speed bump that makes you pause, even for a half second, and feel the cost of what you're doing. That flicker of pain is the thing that whispers, "Is this really worth it?" right at the moment of purchase. It is quite literally your brain's built-in defense against spending too much. Cave Noggin feels the ouch, hesitates, and that hesitation has saved you more money over your life than you'll ever know. Now, imagine you wanted to design a tool to make people spend as much as humanly possible. What's the very first thing you'd need to do? You'd need to get rid of that pain. You'd need to remove the brake. And that is exactly, precisely what the credit card does. The entire genius of it, the whole reason it works so well, is that it takes your one natural defense against overspending and quietly, almost magically, switches it off. Today, we're going to figure out exactly how it does that. The 3 separate tricks it plays on your brain at once. Why a brain with no pain of paying is a brain with no brakes. And how to put the brake back in without cutting up every card you own. Let's go. First, what's at stake? Because this isn't a small effect. People consistently, reliably spend more when they pay with a card than when they pay with cash. Not a little more, substantially more. The same person buying the same things will spend noticeably more across their life simply because of how they're paying. And then, on top of that, comes the second blade. If you don't pay the card off, you pay interest. And the interest on debt is one of the most quietly devastating financial forces there is. Because it compounds, it grows, it works against you every single day, silently, while you sleep. So the credit card hits you twice. First, it makes you spend more than you would have by removing the pain. Then, if you carry a balance, it charges you brutally for the privilege, turning a $100 impulse into something that costs far more than $100 by the time it's actually paid off. That's what's at stake. Not just overspending in the moment, but overspending that then grows teeth and bites you for years. And the whole thing starts with one switched-off flicker of pain. And let me name the trap that closes around so many people, because it follows directly from those 2 blades. You spend a bit more than you meant to, painlessly, because the brake was off. The bill comes, bigger than expected. You can't quite cover it, so you carry a little balance. Now interest starts running. The next month you're paying that interest plus your normal spending, so the balance creeps up, not down. And because the minimum payment feels manageable, it never quite alarms you, until one day you realize you've been carrying debt for years, paying every month, and the balance has barely moved. Because most of what you pay is just feeding the interest. You didn't make one reckless decision. You made 100 small, painless ones, and the machine quietly converted them into a balance that now follows you everywhere. That's the thing to understand. Nobody chooses to fall into card debt. They drift into it, one frictionless tap at a time, because every single tap was engineered to feel like nothing. The danger was never a moment of weakness. It was the absence of pain, repeated. You remember Noggin, soft pink cartoon brain, big eyes, little stick arms, doing his best in a world he wasn't built for. The saver angel and her piggy bank, The spender devil with his bags and his credit card. And notice the devil has been holding that card this whole series because it's his favorite weapon. And of course, Cave Noggin, the wild ancestor who surges up when the old instincts fire. Well, today is the spender devil's masterpiece. Today you'll watch the credit card do something almost unfair to poor Noggin. It'll let him feel all the pleasure of getting things while feeling none of the pain of paying for them. And a Noggin who feels pleasure with no pain is a Noggin who will spend until something external stops him, because his own internal brake has been gently, invisibly disconnected. Here's the roadmap. First, we'll look at trick number 1, how the card separates the pleasure of buying from the pain of paying, and why that separation is so devastating. Then trick number 2, how tapping or swiping makes the money itself invisible, so there's nothing to feel. Then trick number 3, the sneakiest one, how pay later exploits the way your brain thinks about the future. And then we'll figure out how to put your brake back. Let's go. So, trick number 1, and it's the big one. The card decouples pleasure from pain. Think about what a normal, healthy purchase feels like. You want a thing. You get the thing. That's the pleasure. And right at that same moment, you hand over the money. That's the pain. The pleasure and the pain happen together, bound up in the same instant. And because they're bound together, you experience the true cost of the purchase right as you enjoy it. The ouch and the ah arrive at the same time, and they balance each other, and that balance is your judgment working. You feel in your body what the thing really costs you in the very moment you decide you want it. Now watch what the credit card does. It takes those two things, the pleasure and the pain, and it rips them apart in time. You get the thing now. Full pleasure, immediate, complete. But the pain, the actual paying, that's been pushed off into the future, weeks away, to some abstract day when a statement arrives. So at the moment of purchase, the exact moment your brain is supposed to feel the cost and apply the brake, there is no pain, none. There's only pleasure. The ouch has been surgically removed from the moment and exiled to a vague future date where it'll arrive disconnected from the thing you bought, mixed in with dozens of other purchases, abstract and toothless. And so at the only moment that matters, the moment of decision, your brain feels pure upside. All ah, no ouch. And a decision made on pure pleasure with no felt cost is a decision with no brake on it at all. And here's why this is so devastating, so much more than it sounds. Your brain barely cares about future pain. We'll get deep into that in trick 3, but for now, just feel it. A pain that's coming later on some abstract future day feels tiny, distant, almost unreal to the part of you making the decision right now. So even though intellectually you know you'll have to pay, the feeling of that payment is so faint, so far away, that it does nothing to check the pleasure in the moment. The brake isn't just weakened, it's been moved to a time and place where it can't reach the decision it was supposed to stop. The card didn't make you forget you have to pay, it made the paying feel like it's happening to a different person, on a different day, while the you standing here gets to enjoy the thing for free. Let me show you Noggin living it. Noggin wants a thing. With cash, here's what happens. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out real bills, counts them, watches them leave his hand, feels the pocket get lighter, feels the little ouch of the stack shrinking. And right there mid-count, the saver angel gets her moment. Are you sure? That's a lot of bills leaving. Look how few you have left. And often feeling that, Noggin pauses and puts something back. The pain did its job. Now the card version. Noggin wants the thing. He taps a piece of plastic, a little beep, and it's his. That's it. Nothing left his hand. His pocket feels exactly the same. No bills, no counting, no shrinking stack, no ouch. The saver angel opens her mouth to speak and there's nothing for her to point at. No pain happened. No stack shrank. The moment passes painlessly and Noggin walks off with the thing, feeling nothing but the pleasure of having it, while the spender devil grins because he knows the bill is coming on a day when Noggin won't connect it to this moment at all. And here's the detail that really shows the gap. With the cash, the saver angel had something physical to work with. A shrinking stack, a number going down, a visible loss she could point at and say, "Look." Her entire job, her only tool, is making the cost feel real, and the cash handed her the evidence. But the card leaves her empty-handed. There's no shrinking stack, no visible loss, no evidence at all. Just a beep and a thing. So she's not overruled by the spender devil. She's simply disarmed. She never gets to make her case because the case she makes is built entirely on the felt cost, and the felt cost has been deleted. The card didn't win the argument, it canceled the argument by removing the only thing the angel ever had to argue with. So that's trick one, pleasure and pain torn apart in time, leaving the decision with no felt cost. Now trick two stacks on top, and it makes the whole thing worse. The card makes the money itself invisible. Go back to our very first episode again. We talked about how money became an abstraction, how Cave Noggin can't really feel digital numbers the way he'd feel losing real, physical resources. Cash is at least somewhat real. It's physical. You hold it, you watch it leave. Your ancient brain can almost grasp it as a tangible thing being given up. But a card? When you tap or swipe, nothing physical happens. No object leaves your hand. There's just a beep, a screen, maybe a signature. The money is pure abstraction. Invisible numbers moving in a system Cave Noggin cannot see or feel at all. So not only has the pain been moved to the future, the very thing you're giving up has been made invisible in the present. There's no shrinking stack of bills to trigger even a flicker of loss. There's nothing for the ancient brain to register as a resource leaving me. You're giving something up, but to Cave Noggin, it looks and feels like you're giving up nothing. You just tapped a card and got a thing. Where's the cost? He literally cannot see it. And think about how strange this would look to your ancestors. For your entire evolutionary history, acquiring something required visibly giving something up. You traded a tool for a hide. You spent hours and calories hunting. You handed over real, physical, hard-won resources. The giving up was always visible, always felt, always part of the deal. There was never, not once in 200,000 years, a situation where you could obtain a real thing while feeling like you parted with nothing at all. That situation simply did not exist in nature. So Cave Noggin has no defense against it because he never needed one. The card creates an experience his brain was never built to handle, pure getting with no visible giving. To him, it doesn't feel like buying. It feels almost like finding, like the thing just appeared for the price of a beep. And a brain that feels like it's finding things for free is a brain that will find its way into a very deep hole. And the newest versions make this even more extreme. Tap to pay, phone payments, one-click ordering online, where your card is already saved and buying something is a single tap with no number even visible. Each step removes a little more friction, a little more visibility, a little more of the tiny remaining feel of spending, until paying becomes so smooth, so frictionless, so invisible that it barely registers as an event at all. The whole direction of payment technology for decades has been one single mission: make spending feel like less, make the money more invisible, remove more friction, remove more pain, because every tiny bit of pain they remove, you spend a little more. That's not a conspiracy theory, it's just the incentive. The people who make payment easier make more money when you spend more, and you spend more when paying hurts less. So of course it keeps getting smoother. Of course it keeps getting more painless. The smoothness is the whole point, and the smoothness is exactly what's costing you. Now trick 3, the sneakiest of all. Pay later exploits a deep glitch in how your brain handles the future. Here's the glitch. Your brain massively, dramatically values the present over the future. Something good right now feels enormous. That same good thing a month from now feels much smaller. And crucially, a pain right now feels huge, while that same pain a month from now feels tiny, faint, almost ignorable. This is ancient, and it made sense on the savannah. The future was deeply uncertain. You might not even be there next month. A predator or a famine or an accident could end you any day. So a brain that grabbed present rewards and discounted distant futures generally did better. Survival favored now. So Cave Noggin is built to care intensely about right now and to barely care about later. Now feel what pay later does to that brain. The pleasure of the thing, that's now. So it feels huge, full size, intense. The pain of paying, that's later. So to Cave Noggin's now obsessed brain, it feels shrunken, distant, almost weightless. The card deliberately puts the pleasure in the slot your brain overvalues, and the pain in the slot your brain undervalues. It's a perfect exploit. You're trading a present pleasure that feels enormous for a future pain that feels tiny. And it feels like a fantastic deal every time, because your brain is systematically misjudging the size of the future cost. And this is exactly how debt accumulates without anyone deciding to go into debt. Each individual purchase feels like a great trade in the moment because the future pain is so heavily discounted. But those future pains are real, and they pile up, and they arrive, and they bring interest with them. The minimum payment option makes it even worse because it lets you push the pain even further into the future, paying a tiny bit now and feeling like the problem is handled, while the real debt sits there growing. The card isn't selling you things, it's selling you the ability to feel like the future isn't real. And the future always turns out to be real. And here's the cruelest part of this particular trick, the part that closes the trap. When the future finally arrives, when the statement lands and the pain you discounted shows up at full size, what does a now-obsessed brain want to do with a present pain? Make it go away now. And the card offers away the minimum payment. Pay a tiny sliver, push the rest even further out, and the present pain vanishes again, instantly. Relief. Cave Noggin takes it gratefully, because removing present pain is exactly what he's built to do. But all he did was kick the same debt further down the road, now larger, because interest grew it while it waited. So the very same future discounting that created the debt also sabotages paying it off. Again and again, each minimum payment buying a little present relief at the cost of a bigger future pain. It's the same glitch eating its own tail. The brain that couldn't feel the future cost when it bought the thing also can't bear the present cost when the bill comes. So it keeps choosing later forever while the number grows. That's how people end up paying for a dinner they don't even remember, years after they ate it, having paid for it several times over in interest and still owing the original sum. The future was real the whole time. The card just kept helping them pretend it wasn't. So here's the twist. The thing I really want you to keep. It is not your fault. You did not fail at willpower or discipline. You were handed a tool that was specifically, expertly engineered to defeat the exact brain mechanisms that normally protect you from overspending. The card removes the pain of paying, makes the money invisible, and exploits your brain's deep discounting of the future. 3 separate ancient vulnerabilities, all attacked at once by something designed by very smart people who understood Cave Noggin extremely well. Spending more with a card isn't a character flaw. It's the predictable design result of having your one natural brake disconnected. You're not weak. Your brake was engineered out of the system before you ever reached for your wallet. Blaming yourself for overspending on a card is like blaming yourself for sliding on ice that was deliberately poured under your feet. The slipping isn't the failure, the ice was put there on purpose. But it is still your responsibility. Because nobody is going to make spending hurt again on your behalf. The cards aren't going away, and they're only going to get smoother, more invisible, more frictionless. Nobody is coming to reconnect Cave Noggin's break for him. So the modern you has to do it manually, to deliberately put the pain, the visibility, and the future back into the moment of purchase. The three things the card was built to remove. The good news is that once you understand exactly what the card took away, putting it back is surprisingly doable. Let me show you how. Defense number 1, the master move. Put the pain back by making spending visible and present. The card's whole power is removing the felt cost from the moment, so your job is to put a felt cost back. The strongest version. For the spending categories where you tend to overspend, the impulse stuff, the going out, the online shopping, switch to cash or to a debit card that pulls real money from your account immediately. Cash especially brings the pain roaring back. The counting, the handing over, the shrinking stack, the visible loss. People who switch their problem spending to cash almost always spend less, automatically, with no willpower required, because the break just reappears. You're not forcing yourself to spend less. You're letting the pain do the job it was always meant to do. Defense number 2, feel the future payment now, on purpose. The card exiles the pain to an abstract future, so drag it back into the present deliberately. At the moment of any card purchase, pause and make yourself actually picture the statement. Picture the day it arrives. Picture pulling real money out of your account to cover this exact purchase. Say it in your head, I am going to pay real dollars for this, out of money I work for, and it's going to feel like a loss when it lands. Make the future pain vivid and present, right now, in the moment of decision. Because the card's entire trick is keeping it faint and distant. The more real you can make the future payment feel in the present, the more your natural break comes back online, and the more honestly you can judge whether the thing is actually worth it. Defense number 3, treat the credit card exactly like a debit card. Here's a simple, powerful rule that diffuses most of the danger. Never spend money on a card that you don't already have in your account right now. Use the card if you like, for the convenience, the protection, whatever. But treat every single purchase as if the money is leaving immediately and pay the balance off, in full, every month, no exceptions. The instant you do this, the second blade, the interest, the compounding debt, disappears entirely. It can never touch you. A credit card paid in full every month is just a slightly more dangerous debit card. A credit card carrying a balance is a trap that grows. The single most important financial rule with these things is brutally simple. Pay it in full, every month, always. If you can't pay for it in full, you can't afford it yet. Full stop. That one rule, held without exception, is worth more than every other trick in this episode combined, because it draws a hard line the card can never trick you across. You simply never spend money you don't already have. Defense number 4. Understand what carrying a balance actually costs in absolute terms. Remember the proportion glitch from a few episodes back? The interest rate on a card is usually expressed as a percentage, which your brain processes as a vague, smallish feeling number. Don't let it. Convert it to absolute dollars. Understand that carrying debt on these cards means that a thing you bought can end up costing you dramatically more than its price by the time it's paid off. And that you'll be paying real money month after month, not for anything you enjoy, but purely for having spent money you didn't have yet. Interest is the price of impatience, and it's one of the highest prices there is. When you see it in real dollars, when you grasp that carrying a balance means working extra hours purely to pay for the privilege of having bought something slightly sooner, the appeal of pay later collapses. Later is not free. Later is the most expensive option on the menu. Defense number 5. Add the friction back, especially online. The card's allies are smoothness and save details. The one-click order, the card number already stored, the tap it takes half a second. Every bit of that friction they removed was removed to make you spend more. So put some of it back by hand. Delete your saved card details from the shopping sites and apps where you overspend, so that buying something requires actually getting up, finding the card, and typing the numbers in. That tiny bit of effort and delay is enough to wake the thinking brain and let the pause do its work. Half of impulse buying simply doesn't survive having to go find your wallet. Turn off one click, log out of the stores, make spending take 30 more seconds than it does now. You're not making it hard, you're just removing the inhuman, frictionless smoothness that was engineered specifically to slip purchases past you before you could think. A little friction is your friend. It's the speed bump where your judgment finally gets to catch up. Defense number 6, name the trick when you tap. When you're about to tap or swipe and it feels like nothing, like no money is involved, like it's almost free, name it. That's the card removing the pain. Real money is leaving me right now. I just can't feel it. The bill is coming and it's real. Naming it reconnects the tap to the cost, manually, in the moment. You're forcing yourself to feel, with your conscious mind, the loss that the card was designed to hide from your ancient one. And that little named moment of, this is real money, is your break, switch back on by hand, one purchase at a time. So let's bring it home. Here's everything we untangled today. Paying with money is supposed to hurt a little, and that flicker of pain is your brain's one natural break against overspending. The credit card was engineered to remove that break through 3 tricks at once. Trick 1, it decouples the pleasure of buying from the pain of paying, tearing them apart in time so that at the moment of decision, you feel pure pleasure and no cost. Trick 2, it makes the money itself invisible. No physical bills leaving your hand, nothing for your ancient brain to register as a loss. And every advance in payment tech removes a little more of that visibility on purpose. Trick 3, pay later exploits your brain's deep overvaluing of the present and discounting of the future. So the present pleasure feels huge and the future pain feels tiny, which is exactly how debt piles up without anyone deciding to go into debt. And then interest compounds on that debt, hitting you a second time. It is not your fault. Your break was deliberately engineered out of the system, and it is still your responsibility, which you handle by putting the pain back with cash, feeling the future payment now, treating the card exactly like a debit card, and paying it in full every month, understanding the real, absolute cost of interest, adding friction back by deleting saved card details, and naming the trick every time you tap. And here's the bigger thing I want Noggin, and you, to hold on to. The card isn't evil, and you don't have to fear it or swear it off. Used correctly, paid in full, every month, with the pain put back by hand, it's just a convenient, sometimes even beneficial tool. The danger was never the plastic. The danger is letting the plastic disconnect your break without you noticing, so that you drift painlessly, smoothly, into spending more than you have and then paying for it for years. Everything we did today is really just about one thing: keeping the cost of your spending visible and present and real, even when a piece of technology is working hard to make it invisible, distant, and painless. Feel the cost as you spend, and the card becomes harmless. Stop feeling it, and the card quietly runs your financial life. The whole game is whether you feel the money leaving, or whether you let the tap convince you that nothing left at all. Cave Noggin's still going to feel almost nothing when he taps. That painless smoothness is exactly what the card was built to deliver, and it works. But now there's a clear voice right behind the tap that says, "Real money just left me. I just can't feel it. Is this actually worth it?" And asking that one question, putting the pain back by hand every time you tap, a few thousand times across a life full of effortless little purchases, is the difference between a brain that gets quietly spent into debt by a frictionless machine and a brain that uses the machine while never once forgetting that the money is real. So here's where we're going next time. We've talked about deep instincts and clever tools, but next time we look at a phrase, a little story you tell yourself that has become one of the most effective permission slips for overspending ever invented. 2 words: treating yourself. Because here's the trap. Rewarding yourself isn't wrong, and you do deserve good things. But somewhere along the way, "I deserve it" turned into a magic spell that ends every argument against a purchase before it can even start. And the reward stopped being occasional and became constant. How treating yourself quietly became a financial trap, and how to actually enjoy rewarding yourself without it draining you dry. That's next time. I'll see you there.